Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning showcased the biggest and most dangerous stunt in cinema history, connected every single Mission Impossible movie together, and put Tom Cruise in his biggest hero role ever. Let's break down this incredible end to the most epic franchise ever.
What is up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost Podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. And today we are celebrating the man, the myth, the legend, Tom freaking Cruise. I think everybody around the world is celebrating him the past couple of months with the release of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I just saw actually The Last Samurai on 35mm film. The BFI in England's doing a whole month of his films. I think the world understands and respects what he's done, what he's added to cinema, what he's added to Hollywood, and making Hollywood and cinema a global phenomenon around the world culturally, and really pushing the boundaries of filmmaking in both stunt work and action set pieces, technology, camera tech, sound tech, whatever it takes to make these gigantic set sequences and action sequences work. The man is really one of the great beacons of hope in the future of cinema, has been already in the past, and I think The Final Reckoning was an absolute celebration of him.
And I really enjoyed this film. I saw it in London with you, actually, for the first time, because we were there for the ballerina premiere for John Wick, and it was so fun to see this with you in a different city in just an awesome IMAX theater at Cineworld. And I was so excited for this film. It's been my most anticipated of the entire year. It did not disappoint, and I loved so many things about this film, how it tied in every Mission Impossible film together to connect to one long, cohesive story, taking ambiguous elements from past films, especially from the third film, to tie into the final film with the rabbit's foot, as well as a great montage opening sequence of really, as Ethan's getting his message from the president, of just every epic thing that Tom's ever done as Ethan Hunt in the stunt work and the great action set pieces of the entire franchise, as well as characters coming back from the past and having prominent roles in the film, like all the way back from Mission Impossible to being in the final film 30 years later, almost 40, almost 30. No, yeah, like 29 years later.
Yeah, you're good. You're right.
And I love the action sequences, and what was really interesting about this film, lots of exposition, which clearly a lot of people are put off by, because those are the biggest complaints I've seen for this film is exposition bombs happening here and there. I didn't mind them at all. You know, it's a complex story that's spanning several films now, and I was totally fine with these moments of exposition, getting everyone up to speed with everything that's happened in the past. And I like how they sort of saved all of the action in terms of big stunt work and big set pieces for really like the last hour of the film, and then the show-stopping sequence with the biplane stunts with Tom at the end of the film, which is just the biggest, boldest, most dangerous stunt sequence ever done in cinema. It was absolutely exhilarating to watch, jaw on the floor for at least 10 minutes during that entire sequence, plus other great stunts he did in the movie, as well as the rest of the cast. And I think just having the regulars back was great, as well as having like Pom Klementieff coming back as a member of IMF now was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every minute of this movie. It was sort of like a big farewell to one of my favorite action franchises of all time, in Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, and I mean, the team in this film is as big as it possibly can get, and we got newcomers like Katie O'Brien, Holt McCallany, great seeing him in this film, as well as, like you said, a couple of the original cast members from the first movie. Shea Wiggum has a beefed-up role in this, and they had a great little ending scene with him, and Tremel Tillman from Severance, and we saw this with the Severance crowd because everybody was giggling whenever he spoke, and it was great seeing him in this movie. I thought he was perfect, and so Tom and McQuarrie know how to cast their movies really well, and I think this movie obviously is getting mixed reviews. I didn't mind the exposition. This franchise, every film is an exposition-heavy film in this franchise. That is part of the kind of the DNA of the Mission Impossible movies. I mean, every one of these movies opens with a fucking 5-minute exposition dump about what the mission is. So, I mean, and if you also factor in the fact that there's literally 40 minutes of this movie that has no dialogue. So, I mean, I'm not really. I don't really get the intense criticism for the exposition because it's been consistently like that for every film in this franchise. That's kind of like what makes it a Mission Impossible movie. You know, there's a bunch of shit going down. They're explaining, setting it up. Obviously, things are a little complex and a little convoluted and a little overstuffed in this film. more so than others, but I didn't find it to be a problem. I thought they paced through that pretty quickly, and the movie moved along really fast, and I think they did a really good job putting out all of that exposition. But I mean, there are some of the most beloved movies in recent memory have exposition dumps, so I think that's getting a little unfairly criticized for that, because when at the end of the day, what this movie does is create and give us the biggest spectacle we're going to see all year, practical spectacle of people, not just Tom Cruise, but the entire team doing unbelievable things, these massive sets. Obviously, the biplane stunt was the showstopper, but I thought that submarine sequence was just one of the best sequences they've put in a Mission Impossible film. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat for that entire subsequence, and I was really blown away with that. And on top of that, there's some really good hand-to-hand combat in this film. There's a couple of great fight sequences between Ethan and some of the other characters and a couple of bad guys that I think worked really well. They're really propulsive, really dynamic, physical, and it always has that great trademark comedy that Tom always throws into his action sequences. You're seeing something crazy, then you're getting a little chuckle. Overall, I thought, even with the exposition, it was a highly entertaining film and globe-trotting, visual spectacle. There's so much to get into. I absolutely enjoyed the film, and I thought it was really one of the best in the entire franchise.
Let me run a quick synopsis and plot summary for this film, because there's a lot going on. It gets pretty complex, and they went bold with this film by connecting every single Mission Impossible film, which I think was a really exciting thing to do, because obviously it's felt like 4, 5, and 6 have been very connected, and then 6 and 7 have been very much connected as well. But I didn't really expect them to connect every single movie, even prominently number 1 and number 3 in this film, with having the character from the vault at the CIA that Ethan originally breaks into in the first film becoming a major character in the climax in the last really hour and a half of this movie, which is a really a big treat, which is a lot of fun because this movie has a lot of redemption arcs, but also connecting the third film with the rabbit's foot, which basically becomes part of the source of the entity. And so let's talk about the plot of this film. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning picks up after the events of Dead Reckoning Part 1, where Ethan Hunt and his Impossible Mission Force team were tasked with securing a cruciform key to control or destroy the entity, a parasitic AI capable of manipulating global information and threatening nuclear annihilation. The entity has now infiltrated cyberspace, sowing misinformation, destabilizing economies, and fostering a doomsday cult around the world. The world's nuclear powers are on the brink, with only a few nations resisting the entity's control. The plot centers on Ethan's mission to retrieve the entity's source code located in the Podkova device aboard the sunken Russian submarine Sevastopol in the Bering Sea. This mission requires Ethan to undertake a perilous underwater operation. That's kind of like what's happening to set up the movie without getting to big spoilers, where the entity is sort of taking over cyberspace over the entire world. Almost every nation that has nuclear weapons, they've been taken over and have lost control of their nuclear arsenal, except for a handful: America, Russia, China, England, and India. India loses theirs, Russia loses theirs, China loses theirs, eventually until America's the only one left. And it's created a doomsday scenario where nations are afraid of the entity, so they're on the trigger, ready to pull the trigger and end the entity's reign over other arsenals to maintain control, which will create doomsday. And the entity basically wants to end the world for humanity and destroy humanity, while also trying to hide itself in a specific bunker.
I think that it was kind of a tough ask to figure out what the conflict and the plot of this film would be coming off the first film. With the AI entity, you set it up with being pretty hard to pull off. I liked what they ended up coming with this conflict of the AI wanting to destroy humanity, which we've seen many times before. But then it has this ulterior intention of saving itself by storing itself in this bunker so that it can outlast nuclear fallout and a global war. And I thought that made sense. I thought that if the AI wants to take out humanity, it does have to protect itself. And so it seemed to make sense that it protect itself inside of supercomputer in that underground bunker in Africa. I like that. I've seen a lot of people hating on that online.
Can I add?
Yeah, sure.
Because I see people despising this idea. Like, why would it want to just hide? But they accept it with Terminator.
Exactly.
Terminator, it's fine
Matrix.
for machines and androids to take over. Matrix, it's fine for androids and machines to take over. But apparently, if you do it in Mission Impossible, it's not plausible. I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think this movie's getting a lot of flack, and I thought it was just really outstanding. And what also I found this film surprisingly to be one of the most character-driven in the entire franchise, if not the most character-driven. I think that you have a huge cast. There's 20 leads in this, like main cast members of this movie, and they all have a good amount of screen time. They all have a lot to do. And somehow McQuarrie, because he's such a smart writer, he wove together all of these threads in a really good way. And I felt that everyone had their due. Everyone added to the plot. Everybody seemed to be faced with some kind of decision at one point in time. Didn't matter who it was. If it was 20th on the call sheet or Tom Cruise himself, it seemed like every character really had a significant part to play. And I like the additions of these younger characters. Paris, I think, is just going to be a fan favorite. Hopefully, going forward, we're going to get a lot more of her. And then we got Greg Tarzan Davis coming back in his role. He's joining up with the team as in moving away from his former leader Shea Wiggum's character. Katie O'Brien was cool to see in the sub. I thought it was really great. She has a great persona. I think that the expansion of the cast, the expansion of the world building, worked to great effect. And I really do think they pulled it off. And I'm looking forward to. I mean, if they want to do a ninth one, I'll be there. I think that they ended this on a really high note. It was an emotional ending, really kind of a perfect farewell in a lot of ways. And you can't. I mean, I don't know what Tom's got cooking, what he can do to top what he did with the submarine sequence and the biplane sequence, but he says he's got crazier stuff planned. He also said in an interview, when asked if he can make a better Mission Impossible movie, he said, "I know I can." So I don't know if that's a hint that this movie might be the actual penultimate to his Mission Impossible career, but the movie does have a lot of uphill climbing in the box office for Paramount to want to get involved in another sequel. I doubt a ninth film would cost $400 million. This was made under very specific circumstances, delays, SAG strikes, a whole bunch of shit was happening while making this movie. Now, I would assume a sequel would cost about $250 million. This movie grossed $200 million opening weekend globally. And it's about to open in China, and it's geared to be the biggest opening in China since Venom, the first Venom movie, and it's projected to hit $45 to $50 million opening weekend in China alone. I think this movie has a great start, and it has a lot of competition. It's got an uphill battle to make a profit, but I think it could turn out $700 million.
It's got really, right now, no competition for about a week. But, there's some big movies coming out in the beginning of June and in the rest of June. It's going to be a busy month, so it's got to make a lot of its money. Like, the problem with Dead Reckoning Part 1 is it had IMAX theaters for a week, and then Oppenheimer Barbie just blew it out of the water. And it really was a bit of a very successful film, but not very profitable. And for this movie, it really needs to make $1 billion to become profitable. So it needs a huge, huge number at the end of the day. We'll see if it gets there. But overall, I still think it's just one of the biggest spectacles you'll ever see in an action film of all time, if not the. But it still has great resonant themes that I love seeing in films. It almost is a borderline science fiction film for the first time in a Mission Impossible film. Dead Reckoning Part 1, I guess you could argue, is a bit like that as well. But it really kind of felt like a science fiction film where we have elements of humanity versus technology, as well as, the entity presents massive dangers for the world with AI, unchecked AI manipulating the world, threatening global stability, and contrasting that with humanity. And humanity is also being corrupted as well by the entity, where we have this mysterious entity cult, doomsday cult, that wants to rebuild the world with the entity. They believe in the entity and they're just brainwashed by it. It's really interesting. Then we have this great consistent theme of choice and destiny, like the beginning of the consistent lines of our lives are the sum of our choices. But it opens up this movie with that great quote, "We live and die in the shadows, for those we hold close and for those we never meet," which is sort of just a phrase or a saying for them throughout the film. But choice and destiny, where the entity is predicting millions and millions of outcomes, feels like Infinity War, and it knows exactly and we can predict how people will act and behave, especially with Ethan, who the entity deems as its biggest threat. So in order to beat the entity, you have to do things that would get you out of fate in a lot of ways, and deciding a different choice and different destiny than what would normally happen. Loyalty and sacrifice. Obviously, there are losses on the IMF team in this film that you definitely felt. But I think for this film, they needed to have some deaths for major characters to really start feeling the stakes of it being a world-ending franchise again for story. I think it was really important. But then also blending the perfect amount of nostalgia and legacy with this film. I think bringing back the actor from the original film who plays the operative and the analyst inside the vault, Dunlow, having him come back and legit is on screen for an hour and help save the world was such a cool thing to do for McQuarrie and his writing team, as well as Tom as being a major player in the directing and producing of this film. I think it was bold. It was unexpected for him to be that integral of a role. And I thought it was so fun, and it worked really well. And it was the best way that they connected the entire franchise together. And it was a great redemption for Dunlow. And also, it was a redemption for Ethan in a lot of ways, because you can tell he's always probably felt bad for what he did to this guy. This guy's life was uprooted. He was sent to the middle of nowhere the day that happened. And he's been there for 30 years, but he thanks Ethan because if he didn't do that, he would have been stuck in the CIA, unhappy, but now he's found happiness in his life. And so it's a redemption, but also gratitude felt, which I thought was a really interesting thing to do.
It was so funny when Dunlow came on screen, and I completely agree. I thought it was so great to bring him back because it is basically we finally saw the result of his story from the first film when Kittredge, after the CIA vault was broken into and Ethan and the team got away, Kittredge speaking to another superior in the control room, and Dunlow's in the background, and I'm talking about the first film here, and he says, I want him in Alaska by the end of the day. And he really did send him to Alaska at the end of that day. It was great. I thought it was so funny to see the culmination of that statement from Kittredge in the first film, and I loved Kittredge coming back for the last film, Dead Reckoning, and so having Dunlow back was so fun. I thought it was a great narrative touch, so unexpected, and honestly, it does work because if he's working in that CIA vault in the first film, you could definitely believe that he has the abilities to help out in this film in the way that he does. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a genius.
Yeah, 100%. And this movie, it even when it goes heavy on exposition, it turns the corner, and we get some great comedy. And I think a great example of that is in the first act when Ethan's brought in to all the superior officers in basically the entire American government, and he makes his case. He's like, I need you to trust me one last time. And he's like, I need an aircraft carrier. I need this. I need that. I need this. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. and he's ushered through a hallway and then through a door, and he's outside, and he's being freed, and the president is setting him off on a plane, in fact, to an aircraft carrier to give it one last go. And so I think that McQuarrie and Cruise really know what they're doing to surprise the audience in really fun ways. Like it's those moments that really, make the movies feel different and fun, where it's like there's no way in hell you could give this guy all the stuff, the resources, but then the president does. And that sets the story going. So I think they did a great job balancing all that exposition with a lot of great comedy.
Before we continue, look over my right shoulder, and you'll see an incredible Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning poster, brought to you and given to us by our friends and sponsor, movieposters.com. Use our coupon code today at movieposters.com to get 10% off your order. and also use our affiliate link because it helps us get commission on orders. This link is found in the episode descriptions of our show, or just go to our Instagram and click the link in the bio. It'll take you there. Movieposters.com has an incredible selection of movie posters. They always have the latest releases, like the Mission Impossible one here, plus so many posters from the past. And you can find anything you're looking for when it comes to your film taste from movieposters.com. So use our code Raiders10 at checkout today with our affiliate link to get your posters today. All right, I think we should start getting into spoiler discussions because I want to start talking about characters in depth a little more. And obviously, Luther, played by Ving Rhames, he's the only other actor besides Tom Cruise who's been in every single Mission Impossible film. He's always been a great source of wisdom, charisma, and just a foundation for the team. And Luther adds a ton of emotional weight in this film because he's dying. And I think this was a smart choice to do, to make this character die, because it created a great scenario where he has to die in order for the mission to continue because he gets trapped in his death. And it makes sense because he is dying, and this is a character who's he's pretty old, but I think this was a standout for Ving Rhames, adding so much emotional weight and consistently going back to him and Ethan inside his little secret bunker where Luther there's several MacGuffins in this film. He makes one of the MacGuffins. He makes the poison pill, which is the only thing that can destroy and poison the entity before they trap it inside of the Padkova, inside the other hard drive. And Luther gives several moving monologues in this film, and he really believes in Ethan, and he's always been a brother to Ethan. But it's definitely a tragic loss when Luther dies. He's trapped brilliantly by Gabriel, where he's made one poison pill. Gabriel traps him to defuse a bomb to ensure that Ethan can get away, but also to ensure that Luther dies so that he cannot make another poison pill.
I thought his death and his ending of his role in this franchise was really fitting. If Luther's gonna go out, why not have him go out defusing a bomb and saving the city? So I think he went out on a high note, and I agree. Just like Rebecca Ferguson last film, you need to have deaths to make the story in the conflict feel real for the audience. And Mission Impossible has never strayed away from killing the members of the team. If you look at the opening sequence of the first film, everyone got murked. Spoiler alert. Speaking of murk, and speaking of more comedy. There's so many great moments in this film that add a lot of levity, and one of them is right after this, where Grace and Ethan get captured by Gabriel's men, and they're about to be tortured. Ethan takes the fake cyanide pill, great way of misdirection, and starts a fist fight. And the fist fight turns into a brutal bloodbath with fucking real mayhem going on off screen because this is PG-13. But we just get Haley Atwell's Grace's reaction to him literally just massacring these guys with bloody weapons. And then we see a couple of great shots after the fact of they are covered in blood. There's blood all over the walls. There's he's got an axe stuck in some guy's head or something. And it's we haven't seen that in a Mission Impossible film before. I thought that was so much fun to see. It had such a great comedic joke where she's so shocked. He's like, well, they deserve. They were trying to kill you. They
would have killed you, yeah.
And then they would have killed. Then it was oh, she's reacted to how badly I killed them. He's like, well, I mean, I had to do something. I thought it was so great. And it's that stuff. It seems like that are why I love the franchise.
Yeah, I agree. Let's stay on characters if that's cool with you for a bit. Let's talk about Benji, a fan favorite played by Simon Pegg. What's interesting about his role in this film is he's always sort of been a great comic relief character. He does have good comedy in this film, but I like how he becomes more of a leader in this film, and Ethan kind of promotes him to team leader multiple times and gives him his motto of take care of your team, which I think is just something that Tom does with his life in general. And Benji has a much more of a father figure-like character role for the other characters and a leader. Plus, his humor's there, but not as strong, which I think was good because it made the character mature. Sometimes I think franchises get stuck with the same character always having the same kind of beats, but now he's more of a leader, more of a sacrificing character. And I thought he was dead, but I like how as he's dying, he's able to really show in his greatest moment in the entire IMF franchise, he's not doing anything physically. He's dying. He's both teaching Paris how to give surgery to him to keep him alive and inflate his lung, as well as teaching Grace how to diffuse the wires on the hard drive that they're about to trap the entity inside of. And I thought it was a really great moment for him. He's dying. It's a funny moment. Simon Pegg's such a terrific actor, and it was one of my favorite sequences in the film. I had so much. It was so much fun. And then Grace, played by Haley Otwell, is kind of like a co-lead in a lot of ways to Ethan. Her and Tom have just terrific chemistry. It's absolutely on point. Them on camera together, it's molding. It's so fun, and it felt very personal with them together on camera together. And I really enjoyed how she was the one that was going to rescue Ethan from the Bering Sea and pull him out, basically by herself with the help of Dunlow's wife. I like how they set that up, and she was the one to save his life, as well as, again, talking about Paris, played by Pom Klementieff, who's just terrific. I wish she was had a little more emotionality versus just kind of giving one-liners here and there to continue the story. She kind of became the comic relief in a way, with her different style of humor from Benji. But now she's an IMF recruit and member after they break her out of the jail because she's the only one who knows where Gabriel is. Gabriel, played by Eza Morales, becomes the really human who's been the personification of the entity, the human who the entity works through. How now has new plans to take over the entity for himself and controlling Ethan. And by doing this, he's able to have the possibility of getting the poison pill and the Podkova to be able to have control over the entire world with the entity. That's his new plan. Erica Sloan, by Angela Bassett, is terrific. Great power on screen. She's now the U.S. president, which is kind of in line with CIA directors becoming presidents in the United States. And other returning characters, William Dunlow, played by Rolf Saxon, Eugene Kittredge from Henry Chemi, Trammell Tillman's Captain Bledsoe, stole every scene he was in. Katie O'Brien, again, playing one of the divers on the submarine. Those are basically the main cast and crew of the film.
You know what I love the entire submarine crew. I was like, oh man, I want to see a movie with this crew. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because I loved Tillman as the commander of the submarine. I thought he bounced off Tom Cruise so well, and he has this really unique delivery of lines. And because he both portrayed a sense of command while also a little bit of flair. I like the way he went like and just like you wanted to poke the bear. You came to the right place. Like, I think he added this really great personality that we never see really in like someone who would be a commander of a submarine on screen. It's usually very serious people. And so I think he added so much great. There's this Tom Cruise interview where he was talking about casting someone. I think it was Powell in Top Gun. And Powell didn't want to do it because he wanted to be Rooster. But Tom said to him basically, listen, you're not the one or the two. That's just the way it is. But if you make this role your own, it will be memorable. And, Powell did such a great job with Hangman, who's like number 4 in that movie. I think that's something that Tom Cruise pushes on his actors to really make the roles their own. And it can actually help the writers, McQuarrie, work in their personalities, their strengths, and their little idiosyncrasies into the writing of the characters. So I think that having Tillman on was such a great addition. And I think that Pom Klementieff, I think she's got a real future as an action star. She's extremely photogenic. She's very talented. She seems to do really well in action, and she's also kind of like a daredevil herself. Her hobby is jumping out of planes. And Simon Pegg even called her, he said everybody called her on set Pom Cruise.
She did all of her own stunts.
So I think that she has a future in the action genre for real, because she seems to have the goods action wise, and she can clearly act. So I think she has a bright future as an action star going forward, and then hopefully, and then if they make another Mission Impossible film, we can see her and the rest of the team really coming into their stride.
There's a few more I forgot because this cast is massive, as you said. So real quick on Trammell Tillman, have you heard anyone deliver lines as well as him since Alan Rickman?
He's got this incredible control and calmness.
I haven't heard this kind of line delivery with this much control, this much power, and the patience, the timing, the beats. It reminded me so much of Alan Rickman, and I thought it was obviously he's so good in Severance, but I think that to see him in a big role in a big movie was so cool. And man, his line delivery was superb. What a genius actor. I just loved him every second he was on screen. We also have Holt McCallany as Secretary of Defense. We all know his face, Fight Club and Mindhunter. Then we have Nick Offerman, who's really great in this film as the U.S. Army General and Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. Hannah Waddingham has a couple of great scenes. She's a Rear Admiral, commander of a carrier strike group 10 of the carrier ship that Mr., who no one knows his name, Ethan, is able to access and kind of get control of for a little bit. Like Anthony said, Shea Wiggum comes back as Jasper Briggs, a.k.a. Jim Phelps Jr., tying back to the first film. I think for me, this one might have been the one nostalgia legacy thing that didn't quite work for me, having this be Jim Phelps' son. But I think they obviously wanted to make him and Ethan clash and have opposing forces against each other, even though they have to work together temporarily, but to make them oppose each other, but also a point of acceptance and redemption for both of them together at the end of the film. But I think it was a bit of a stretch for me story-wise to have him be Jim Phelps' son. And besides that, Cary Elwes comes back for a real quick moment as the Director of National Intelligence. He's in a flashback sequence as Denlinger. And then for other major characters, Janet McTeer as Walters, the Secretary of State. And then we had...
She's McGonagall.
Yeah, that's right. The new McGonagall, correct?
Yep.
That's right. Thanks for
That's the new McGonagall.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And then we had... Wasn't the guy who plays Sherlock's brother in the show, wasn't he in the movie as well, inside the cabinet?
Yes. He's an English actor named Mark Gatiss. He's in it.
Mark Gatiss, yes, as head of NSA.
Yeah.
And like Andy said, Greg Tarzan Davis as Theo Diggus, who comes back and turns from the CIA to become of the IMF to help with Ethan. Now, that's pretty much all the main players. And again, Katie O'Brien plays one of the U.S. Navy divers. Her name is Kodiak. This movie just had so many great kind of long cameos for really awesome up-and-coming actors and actresses.
And the set pieces did not disappoint. And then after
real quick,
get rolling.
Lucy Tologarjic as Tapisa Dunlow's wife was awesome.
Okay, who played the doorman in scene 2? James is gonna list off everybody in this fucking cast.
There's a lot of. It's a huge ensemble, man. It's like Infinity War.
I will say she was great. She was so funny. The audience loved her. She had great comedic timing, and she was a breath of fresh air. So yeah, glad you shouted her out. But yeah, who did play doorman in scene number 2, James?
John.
Now
Stepson.
let's get things kicked off with some of the first set pieces, and this is going to be this beautiful Arctic environment where part of the team is moving through. And I never thought we would get dog sledding in a Mission Impossible movie, but we did, and it was great. I loved it. And also, they did film the aircraft carrier scenes on a real aircraft carrier. Those are real sets, and those are real places. So it's very cool to know that they didn't build all those sets. Like most of that was real. They spent a lot of time filming off the coast of Puglia, the heel of Italy, for those sequences on an American aircraft carrier. It really was the George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier, which is named in the film.
Have you gone a day without saying the word Puglia in the last month and a half?
Not the last month, because I'm going there soon.
Yeah, no.
I'll try to.
I just had to figure out a way into saying it in the episode, huh?
Hey, I did my research on this episode. What can I say? It happened to line up with where I'm going. And ironically, I'm also going to Hallstatt in Austria, and that's where a lot of ballerina takes place, which is crazy. I'm like doing a tour of the blockbusters this year. But I love the aircraft carrier sequence because obviously, like we said, the cast is great. But there's a really great fight scene where one of the soldiers on the carrier is one of these like kind of brainwashed, cultish followers of the entity and attacks Ethan Hunt when he's just running on the treadmill, getting ready for his dive. And this was a really great hand-to-hand combat scene because it's cross-cut with the Arctic combat scene with the rest of the team fighting the Russian soldiers who have already taken over Dunlow's home and are now going to prevent them from getting the Morse code signal out to Ethan Hunt in the submarine. These fight sequences, they're really well choreographed. They're really physical. They're fast. They're strong. Really fun too. We got Ethan Hunt using a treadmill as a weapon. Like, this is like very creative stuff.
It was a good stunt.
It was really good stunt when he got thrown across the wall. I was like, oh shit, that was crazy. It was a really good fight. And then he's got him in a leg lock, and then Ethan's kicking him in the face. He's like, I think you spend too much time on the internet. It's great comedy, and it bounced around really well with the Dunlow's home fight. And I thought it was a really, really great choreographed sequence.
Yeah, and I believe what they said, he's running on the treadmill to increase his heart rate, blood flow, and oxygen levels into his brain so they can hold his breath longer, right?
Yes.
And I know the biplane stunt is so incredible, and I want to talk about in detail about that later. But this whole underwater sequence from him jumping into the ocean, first of all, and then getting picked up by the divers was so fun. The frogmen down there and women, I thought that was really exciting. But they did a great job showing how cold the ocean water actually is in the Bering Sea because his body temperature drops so much. But really, from when he gets the Mach 2 suit on, and then I love the divers are just teaching him how to use this suit for the first time in his life, and he's about to go, 300 feet underwater to this submarine, and it's just exhilarating, just the prep, just building the hype to get the sequence going. And then when he goes under, it's just really incredible filmmaking. I've never seen anything quite like it, and I like how long the sequence is of him getting to the submarine. And obviously, in Mission Impossible franchise, normality, just things go wrong consistently as he's trying to fulfill this small part of this mission. And like you said at the beginning of the episode, this is one of the most exciting things I've ever seen in an action movie. The submarine sequence of the sub, more and more water displacing the air, displacing the weight of the submarine to have it start spinning on the bottom of this ocean floor, rolling, which is displacing everything inside of it. I thought it was so exciting. To be underwater with nuclear warheads as they're bumping into each other was just so fun to see. Never seen anything quite like it before. And then getting to Ethan's escape from the sub itself after, of course, he gets the Podkovia. That's what it's called, right? The Podkova?
Yeah.
Let me just double check that, because we have the Podkova is one of the main MacGuffins, as well as the cruciform key. Inside the Sevastopol submarine, the Podkova device. But then he has to escape, and he does it through one of the torpedo holes. The only way to get through the torpedo hole is to cut off his suit. And as soon as he cuts off his suit, he sells it so well with how cold the water is. And then when he gets out of the water, his mask and oxygen gets stuck on the submarine as it keeps going lower. And so he has to take off his mask. And then he's down like 500 feet now underwater. He has to swim his way up in the freezing cold Bering Sea with no oxygen tank. And it was so exciting and amazing. And like you said, everyone's complaining about the exposition in this movie. There's no dialogue here. It's just Ethan by himself. What are y'all complaining about?
20 minutes of no dialogue. Jesus Christ, where else are you going to see that in a movie?
So it's so exciting.
Honestly, I think that I enjoyed the submarine sequence more than the plane sequence. Because it was, they're both great. It was so intense, and the suspense was so well built. And like you said, McQuarrie comes up with the great ways of he does this, but then this happens. So then he does this, and then this happens. Then he does this, but then this happens. Like all these obstacles, and nothing goes according to plan. And they set up, okay, he can do this. Seems plausible. Very difficult, but it can be done, I guess. And then everything just goes wrong. And they did such a brilliant job. They built this entire submarine set underwater in the biggest tank ever used in film history, the largest water tank ever. And they spent months filming this. And on top of that, Tom Cruise was talking about his suit and his mask because it's actually an impractical mask just for filmmaking purposes. They have to light his face, so they put lights inside of the mask so that the audience can always see his face. And that light actually prevents him from seeing very clearly. So Tom Cruise had to actually kind of memorize the entire interior of the underwater submarine sets before he filmed the scenes because he couldn't really see at all when he was filming. So first he had to memorize it all so he could basically do it blind. And then he starts performing the scenes. But my God, they don't when they build sets like this, it just looks so good. It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it felt like so real. And my God, when the nuclear warheads are just bouncing around, you're just like, oh my God. And then one of them blocks the door. It's just like my mouth was open this entire sequence, and I was just so in awe of it. The spectacle of it was just massive, and the sound design, the music from Lauren Balfe. I loved everything about this sequence, and especially like once he gets out. Yeah, you deal with the giant spectacle, but then you deal with the claustrophobia inside the little missile silo, and you're just like, oh my God, he's crawling through this fucking thing with a bunch of nuclear warheads behind him, and what if he gets stuck? And then, oh my God, I thought it was just so well done and expertly crafted and so practical. There's such minimal CGI in this entire sequence, really just the submarine descending towards the abyss below was the heavy CGI, but they did build a lot of that exterior. You see photos of Tom behind the scenes of him on the exterior of that submarine. But I thought it was just great. And do you think that we got a little thirst trap here too with the knife fight in the scene earlier? A little Tom Cruise thirst trap in his briefs.
Well, I mean, he's and then swimming. Yeah, I think that's it's. I mean, he's Tom Cruise. He's always been a thirst trap. He's always been a sex symbol in a lot of his movies. Oh, yeah. And I mean, he still looks like that at 62. I mean, why not? I think it's if I was him, I'd be like, fuck it, let's do this. I mean, he's got to be like one of the most attractive 62-year-olds on the planet Earth. And I respected him, man, especially the amount of work he puts into his body and training. Why not? I mean, give the people what they want. And Tom Cruise is in his briefs for a good 45 minutes of this movie. No, not that much. It's like a half hour.
It's true. It's like 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes, I think.
He's shirtless quite a bit in this film, but I say, fuck it, why not? It's fine with me. And what's interesting about the Podkova sequence of finally locating the submarine, which is the opening scene of Dead Reckoning Part 1, it takes like 4.5 hours of actual movie time for Ethan to finally get there and finally use the cruciform key and finally open up that internal chamber of that Sevastopol to finally retrieve the Podkova. It's funny and interesting how it took literally 4.5 hours of movie time.
It's complex. It's complex.
It's a lot going on. All right, you wanna take a quick break then
I really do like. Oh, sorry.
I think it's about that time. I think we get a run to our intermission.
Let's get into the intermission. Then we have plenty more to talk about afterwards.
Exactly. Let's save it. Let's save the bacon. There's a lot to discuss still from the Final Reckoning, the most likely final Mission Impossible film in the franchise. But before we continue, the best way to support the show, Raiders of the Lost Podcast, is to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, where you get awesome access to perks like weekly bonus episodes that only patrons have access to the ad-free version and commercial-free version of every single episode, plus access to our Discord and movie watch parties. We have 5 different tiers of membership. Each one has awesome perks, like free merchandise as well. Find out which one is best for you in your budget today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Another great way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. These ratings and reviews help us get seen by new people. They help us chart higher and higher on the podcast platforms. And I love to read written reviews out on Apple Podcasts review system so I can immortalize people forever on our show. The final great way to support our show is just share us. Word of mouth is the best way for our podcast to grow. engaging with our content on Instagram and TikTok is how we got invited to the Ballerina premiere. People leave comments and share our videos and help us get lots of views and engagement. That's why. So you're the reason why we get these invites and the reason why we get to now have met some really interesting and amazing people in the world of film this year. It's because of you. So keep sharing, keep commenting, keep liking, and share your favorite episodes with those you love as well.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our amazing friends at movieposters.com, the number one place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10. That'll always get you 10% off your order, as well as the affiliate link, which gives us a little cut of the action. You can find that in the description of this episode and our social media bios. Movieposters.com is the number one place for all of your poster needs. If you want some Mission Impossible posters, go there. They got everything from your favorite Hollywood blockbuster to your favorite Golden Age classic international films. Really cool alternate prints designed by amazing artists, as well as collectibles like lobby cards and original movie poster prints. Check out that dynamic backlit poster behind James right there. Look at Tom's giant face in that backlit frame. It looks beautiful. Backlit frames really make your posters pop like it's at a movie theater. You can get them at movieposters.com. All of your poster needs, everything you want. High quality, affordable prices, made even more affordable thanks to our code Raiders10. Use that code to always get 10% off your order and the affiliate link at the only place for movie posters, movieposters.com.
All right, let's get into our intermission. Begin with the movie quote competition. You ready, Anthony?
I'm ready.
Okay. I am putting myself to the fullest possible use, which is all I think any conscious entity can ever hope to do.
Huh. Must be some movie about AI. I'm going to say iRobot.
Nope.
I don't know then.
2001: A Space Odyssey. Tal.
Oh, god damn it. I thought it was too obvious. Shit. God damn it. Good one, man. All right, mine's two people talking. You believe a man can change his destiny? I think a man does what he can until his destiny is revealed.
Fuck, what is this? Oh my gosh. Is this a Clint Eastwood movie? No.
No, not Clint Eastwood.
I don't know.
The Last Samurai.
I should have known.
Katsumoto and Algren.
You just watched it.
35 millimeter, baby. It was fucking beautiful. I cried 3 times. I cried 3 times like a little baby.
What do you want to know my enemy?
Sake!
Sake!
Dude, the fucking battle sequence on the big screen. Holy shit. It must have cost them $20 million just for that sequence, at least.
All right, movie release year. Guess this one, Anthony. Come and See.
Come and See. 1984.
85. You're so close.
Oh! Good one, man. What year did Rain Man come out?
Let me think. It's definitely the 90s, and I'm trying to figure out the year because I recently saw an interview where Spielberg almost made that movie, but he did something else instead. What did he do instead? 98.
88.
88. Oh, my God. I was way off.
You were way off.
Oh, he did Indiana Jones 3 instead.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. He had that Rain Man and another famous film in his schedule, but Last Crusade took up most of his time. There's another film he backed out of too.
Yeah, he was being asked about it, and he's talking about how they were like, "Oh, do you think it would have won Best Picture in all those awards if you wrote it, and if you directed it?" And Spielberg's like, "Probably not, because critics hated me."
They despise his success. Okay, here's my quiz question. Tom Cruise produced what Hayden Christensen starring film?
Jumper?
Nope.
That reporter movie?
What's it called?
I can't remember, man.
That reporter movie. It's called Shattered Glass.
Shattered Glass.
That reporter movie. That's good. That's funny. Oh, he's actually really good in that movie, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's good.
All right, we got a bunch of unsubscribes. We haven't recorded for a few days, so get ready to laugh.
Well, we still got pop quiz, though.
All right. That was my pop quiz.
Oh, I never asked mine.
What's yours?
Did you? Oh, you skipped right to your pop quiz. All right. I didn't even realize.
Oh, my bad. I was just so excited to get to my next one.
Okay, here's my pop quiz. In the film The Night of the Hunter, what is the preacher's weapon of choice?
Robert Mitchum uses... Fuck. He uses a razor blade.
Close, a switchblade.
Switchblade, that's what I meant. Yeah, the one with the that folds. Yeah.
Nice.
Good question.
All right. Now you can get to your unsubscribes. And after that, I'm going to get to a 1-star review that makes no sense to us.
Oh my god, I can't wait to get to that one. All right, next up. Unsubscribes. Bo 6 is trash. Omega watches? No, it's pronounced Omega. Unsubscribed. I think I pronounced it wrong. I feel like they said Omega in Casino Royale. What do you think?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Jake Cox. Isn't it Omega? Unsubscribed. All right, Purple Planetary. Movie news when we use one microphone for it. Purple Planetary wrote, "How will you talk over each other with only one mic?" Unsubscribe. All right, Mika Hicks. I must unsubscribe because I tried holding my breath as long as Anthony, but I passed out. And I have to resubscribe. I have to resubscribe to find where I was in the episode to finish it, shaking my head. Hope you're okay, Mika. Be careful with that. Ruben, unsubscribed, then resubscribed. Thanks for the great recommendation of The Studio. I just finished episode 2 and it was a blast. Super fun, awkward, intense. I feel like we Raiders fans are the only ones who appreciate this. Thanks for the secret. Ruben. The guy. I love y'all, and I love Keanu. Oh, wait, hold on. That's not a nice comment. Forget it. Sorry, guy. That wasn't very nice. Elric. I'm so jealous that you met Keanu, and my jealousy cannot be contained. So I must unsubscribe. We met Keanu. James talked to Keanu for 2 minutes. It was crazy.
Yeah, what a night.
All right, next up, Alex isn't home on the Tom Cruise Craziest Stunts. You guys should just change the pod name to Tom Cruise's Biggest Glazers. I chose the word glazer in hopes that old man boomer Anthony would be confused by it. Unsubscribe. I actually know that one.
There we go.
I know what glazing means.
And we can't.
I got that.
It's already been taken. We looked already.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Elric. You met Ana de Armas? I literally just commented on how I was unsubscribing from you because you met Keanu. I was jealous, but this beats that. Now I'm going to subscribe just so I can unsubscribe again.
And Norman Reedus.
And Norman. Ben Abbott. You'll like this one, Jim. Please bring back what came out on this day from many years ago during intermissions again. Otherwise, I'm definitely unsubscribing.
I guess I could do that. That one's a pretty fun one.
On this day in history. I did always enjoy those.
In film history, yeah.
Yeah, I always enjoyed those. All right, next, Thomas. Holy guys, Harrison Ford, Ana de Armas, and Keanu Reeves all within like 10 days is awesome. I will not be unsubscribing. Thanks, pal. James got to meet Harrison. His new best friend. Stephen Michaelwick. You know what? I'm sorry to say this, but I think it's time to unsubscribe. How can you meet my baby daddy, Keanu? The only way I can resubscribe is if you interview my man Brad Pitt or Ryan. Put the money in the bag, Gosling. I hope we get to talk to them. That'd be fucking cool. Curtis, on our selfie video wearing our suits. Guys, chill. My girl is on this app. I guess I have to unsubscribe now because you guys have way too much aura. All right, that's it for our unsubscribes today. If you guys want to make us giggle or fact check us or just say something silly, leave us an unsubscribe. We love hearing them.
All right, we need to fact check a horrible review, probably the worst review we've ever gotten. We got a 1-star review, and it's because apparently we didn't do an episode on Sinners, which we did do an episode on Sinners the Monday after the film came out. And let me just read this review because it's pretty shocking how unfair it is, how inaccurate it is, and how untruthful it is. And it's basically just revisionist history of our entire show and our entire lives. So this is really a really terrible, unfair review that is not true from Crimson Cypher on Apple Podcasts. Way to drop the ball, 1 star. And unfortunately, you can't reply to these reviews. You can't ask them to take it down. You can't give proof that it's completely wrong.
You can't correct them.
So listen to this review. That's horribly wrong. And if you want to help us bury this review, and please leave a review to show how wrong it is, that'd be really great. 1 star. Listen to the show since COVID, but unfollowed the pod due to their lack of coverage for the movie Sinners. Pretty confusing to me because Anthony and I dropped an episode of Sinners on the Monday after the film came out. Plus, I had the poster of Sinners behind me for about 4 weeks. Not to mention, I don't know any other podcast that hyped Sinners up like Anthony and I did before the film came out, consistently talking about it on almost every week of movie news for about 2 months. These two guys barely gave the movie its recognition and never did a movie review despite its box office numbers and success, but thought Nosferatu deserved such an entire movie review episode. Again, almost every movie news for about 2 months we talk about Sinners, plus dropped a huge review about it the Monday after it came out.
90-minute review.
I'm sure you all know about it. So no one talked about Sinners more than Anthony and I, which is pretty ironic. Also, their excitement for the movie Formula One, starring Brad Pitt, but they failed to mention anything about the co-star Damson Idris, who deserves to be recognized for his early career success. We have talked about Damson Idris about this movie. I mean, Brad Pitt's the biggest star in the world, arguably, outside of Tom Cruise and maybe Leonardo DiCaprio. So we talk about Tom Cruise a lot. We've mentioned almost every actor or actress from that film a couple of times, but I mean, I don't know what you want us to do there. The movie hasn't come out yet, which when it comes out, we'll do a full episode and obviously talk about Damson Idris. If you're going to have a film movie podcast become more well-rounded and familiarize yourself with all actors and actresses in the industry, including black ones you show lack of interest in, they deserve their flowers. Again, we don't know I don't know the name of every actor or actress in Hollywood. I'm sorry. That acts, I don't know everyone's name. But to say Anthony and I don't give black actors and actresses their fair due or talk about black actors and actresses is absolutely absurd. We talk glowingly about Denzel Washington all the time. Jamie Foxx, Will Smith, Sam L. Jackson. I mean, what do you want me to do? Make a reference list of every time we've talked about a black actor or actress? This is such an unfair thing to do, such an unfair review to leave. Every episode's different. Every movie we talk about is different. I don't know what this person wants from us, but it's so unfair. It's so untrue. It's honestly very mean and mean-spirited to not even just take a moment to look 3 weeks before this movie this review was dropped on May 18th. We did our review of Sinners at the very end of April. All they had to do was go to the recent episodes on Spotify, Apple, whatever. The Sinners review, you can't miss it. It was like 6 episodes before this review was left. So it's just so it seems like an attack. I don't know, but not to mention our content of Sinners on Instagram and TikTok. We made several clips, especially talking about the film. Several went viral. We had them pinned. We had a clip of Sinners pinned on our TikTok for a month. I just unpinned it yesterday. Yeah. It was pinned to the top of the feed where it doesn't move from the top of the page for the last month and a half. So this is just one of the most unfair things I've ever written about us, but it's just the internet age. And Anthony has left a complaint with Apple Podcasts, but they probably won't be able to remove it for hate speech because technically it's not hate speech. I mean, what are we going to do? Go to court over a review? There's nothing we can do about it. But if people would like to help this review kind of get buried by leaving other reviews, maybe talking about our episode of Sinners that we did, like Jacob did very recently. Jacob is the best. He wrote, "Way to pick up the ball, 5 stars. Listened to the show since COVID and continued due to their 90-minute episode on Sinners. These guys gave the movie its recognition and did a movie review in lieu of its box office numbers and success, and thought Nosferatu also deserved an entire episode review. Also, their excitement for the movie Formula One starring Brad Pitt and the up-and-coming Damson Idris. If you're going to be a film TV podcast, you should become well-rounded and familiar with the industry like these guys. They deserve their flowers." So thank you, Jacob, and anyone else who's been helping us bury that review, because, again, we can't really do anything about it. You can't delete reviews. It's there kind of forever. It's very unfair. And hopefully it doesn't affect us with any other any upcoming review, like work with studios or anything. But just wanted to bring that up because it sucks sometimes when you can't defend yourself with when people do kind of maybe they missed the review, but still to not, if you're gonna go into that depth of talking about us, to not find out if we did an episode, which would have been the easiest search because it was 3 weeks before that review was left. It's really unfair, and honestly seems like it was just done on purpose.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because a couple of the most viral clips about Sinners were made by you for from our episode on Sinners.
Yeah.
Like one of them got like 1 million views.
The aspect ratio clip I made was viral on Instagram and TikTok. Same thing with the Remick clip I made, and I mean we talk glowingly about black actors and actresses consistently on the show.
Yeah, and we've been hyping that movie up literally since last year, and we love Kossler. I try to get everybody I know to watch Fruitvale Station, because I think that's a really incredible piece of work. So I mean, we've been talking glowingly about Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, and for literally years of this show. And I actually had a Sinners poster behind me for the past 3 weeks here in England. Ironic. It's so funny, but we all know what this review insinuates. It paints us in a horrible light for people who don't know us and they see that review. Imagine what they think of us. So I try to get it taken down. There's no hate speech in it, but it does insinuate some really terrible things that are completely untrue. So I sent a complaint, and I just saying it's factually incorrect, and hopefully they can take it down because nothing about that review, what that person said, is true. And you can verify everything. We have a 90-minute episode up 3 weeks before that review even came out. So hopefully Apple can take care of it, but we'll see.
Yeah, my camera died. I don't know how long it's been dead for, but I just turned it back on.
No worries.
I don't know why it died. It's plugged in. I think it's only been a few minutes, hopefully, but my camera's been dead. But yeah,
I think your passion fried it.
It's just so unfair, man. It's so unfair. I mean, the amount of times we've called Idris Elba insanely handsome and thirst trapped over him, it's so unfair, man. It's not cool.
It's crazy.
It's not cool. But all right,
you could literally just search Raiders of the Lost Podcast and Sinners. That's all you had to do was search that.
Yeah, it would have been
any
very
search engine.
A Google, you would have found content immediately. All right, what's your streaming recommendation, Anthony?
Heretic is on HBO Max. That's what it's called, right?
Heretic, yeah.
HBO Max? No, HBO Max. It's
HBO
Max, right?
They haven't officially updated the logos on the app itself, but it is going back to HBO Max.
Okay. I was going to say Max, but I wasn't sure. So Heretic on HBO Max it's a pretty good horror film. Hugh Grant's awesome in it. The cast is very good.
My streaming recommendation: In the Mood for Love, an incredible film out of China. Sorry, I again, we don't just talk about white people on this show.
Wow, James talked about people of color. What are you doing,
I can't believe
James?
it. Like, what
we do on this show?
We don't do that at all. What are we doing? It's available on Criterion
I did
and
Heretic,
Mubi.
James. I'm sticking with the format, James. I did Heretic. That's so funny.
Hysterical. All right, let's get back into Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
So I just watched a movie last night, and leave it to James Cameron to really pave the way forward for anything high-tech, pushing the boundaries of filmmaking. I watched The Abyss last night with Ed Harris.
Oh, did you really? I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, I haven't seen this since I was a kid. I couldn't remember anything about it, so I was like, I want to watch it. And it takes place mostly underwater with this incredible, gigantic underwater tank that they built their sets in. Lots of miniatures, but then there's a lot of real live tank work in these sequences. And my God, man, McQuarrie and Tom Cruise definitely looked to the abyss and what James Cameron and his team did with the underwater photography and action set pieces, and they absolutely use it for inspiration because I was like so floored by the abyss, and I was watching the abyss. I was like, oh, they definitely use this to help mold what their underwater sequence was going to be, because the practicality of it really reminded me of what James Cameron did.
Is that why you watched The Abyss, or is it sort of just coincidentally?
It's been on my radar. It's been on my watch list forever. And then I had to subscribe to Prime for delivery, so I was like, oh, I might as well use Prime for a month while I have it. So
I'm sorry, you're back on Prime?
I had to get a special delivery ASAP for our big day at the premiere for Ballerina. You needed me to get a mic in a day, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't get that mic in London, so I had to get Amazon Prime again just to get that delivery, so you're welcome.
Sorry, I didn't know if your girlfriend had a Amazon Prime account or not.
Not a Prime account, no.
Gotcha. Anyways, I appreciate you doing that. But yeah, I haven't rewatched The Abyss in a while. I just watched that clip where the cameraman wipes the lens recently, and it just blows my mind.
I didn't notice it. I didn't even see it.
Can we talk about the biplane stunt?
Fuck yeah.
So this is just one of the most incredible visuals you'll ever see in a movie. And this is where Tom Cruise is clinging to the wing of a vintage 1940s era biplane flying at speeds of 140 miles per hour at altitudes as high as 8,000 feet and as low as what looks like 30 freaking feet from the ground.
That's lower.
This is just an incredible sequence, and it's incredible to actually witness it, watching Tom do it and then actually hit 0G on the wing of a plane and being flipped upside down, hanging from one hand. Obviously, he's wired in, but still wildly impressive. But then when you learn more about the stunt from, BTS stuff as well as interviews, you learn how dangerous this is. It looks dangerous, but you learn how dangerous it even is more when you hear about it. It's, two planes, Tom Cruise hanging on one of them, has to get to the other one, and also a plane following them with cameras. And just to really understand a helicopter, to really understand how dangerous it is, you don't know until you hear Tom talk about it. It took so much training, months and months and months of training just to get this stunt down. Tom has to practice in conditions of 140 mile per hour winds thrashing you, which he described as the most intense weight workout you'd ever experience in your life. And he's doing that on a movie set, on a plane, while acting, and while really having to understand everything that's going on, not just with the plane that is ahead of him, but also with the plane he's on, understanding the effect his body is having on the aerodynamics of the wing and what the pilot's going through, and understanding what the pilot has to do and what kind of adjustments they're going to make, because every take's going to be different. Every second's going to change. And then just trying to make it cinematically really excellent looking, keeping your acting up, and then getting in the plane and controlling the plane and controlling cameras and the plane at the same time while you're acting as Ethan Hunt. It's just even more impressive than the helicopter sequence in Fallout. Very different, but kind of similar in a lot of ways. It's just so incredible. I've never seen anything like it, and it was just bonkers. This man's a madman. I love him to death.
And I mean, just think about the moments where I think the most dangerous moments for me guessing were when they were so low to the ground, like in that valley, and there's literally like rock surfaces and cliff sides, and there's that little creek, and they're like literally, I think, like 20 feet above the ground, and they're flying at that altitude. I think they're flying like just under 100 miles per hour, something like that. And it's just like, and he's just hanging on to it. This sequence was absolutely phenomenal, really funny, so impressive, and they did an amazing job photographing it. And it's just really remarkable what he comes up with, and to do this. And on top of that, like, imagine how many times they did it, because they had to get so much coverage, because it's quite a long scene. Like, this guy he's such a fearless performer. And it's funny, you look at like the posters, and it's like, oh, that looks like that's CGI, right? No, it's just an actual photograph or like a still frame from the movie. It's so impressive, and my God, it was so satisfying to see Gabriel get killed. I think it was one of the most satisfying villain deaths I can remember.
Yeah.
Because it's when he's like laughing and he's like saying a line to Ethan, like taunting him. He thinks he's about to get away, but then he slips and he fucking bashes his head open on the tail of the plane, blood everywhere, and then he gets thrown out. And I was like, it was so amazing. It was so great. And also, like, when Ethan got onto the red plane, he gets into the seat and it's the wrong seat. So he has to go back to the other seat. There's so many great comedic beats to mix in with the absolutely jaw-dropping stunt sequences unfolding. And, man, I was just, like, sitting on the edge of my seat. I was, like, watching it, and I was like, I can't believe this is actually happening in front of us. And what this guy does is so amazing. It's why I go see these movies. But like you said, highly dangerous because so many things can go wrong. But also, Tom realized that while he was up there, he couldn't breathe. So the way that planes are designed, like whether it be, it's like that. Look at the glass window in front of the pilot seat. It's curved and it's a certain height and width so that they can breathe while they're piloting, as well as the wind not hitting them, but also so that they can breathe, because when they're in the high altitudes going that speed, there's no way you can breathe in the air. So Tom didn't realize that at first, and it was on the first practice runs where he realized, I have to figure out how I'm going to breathe while I'm up here. So he would create like pockets of air for himself by blocking the wind with his you can see sequences in the movie where he's leaning inwards, he's blocking the air with his shoulder or his arms. He's doing that so he can actually breathe air, because the pressure and the speed of the wind of the air is so fast that his lungs can't take it in. And on top of that, they generally build the sequence shooting at about 11 minutes long. And there was one moment where they were filming. Tom was way up there. They could barely really see what he was doing. Like, he was just like on his own most of the time when he's up there. Like, seriously. And there was a moment where they were like, okay, we're going to film for 11 minutes, then we're going to cut, and then we'll reset. And they go past 11 minutes, then they go past 15 minutes, and it's past 18 minutes, and everybody in the helicopters are like, have you heard from Tom? Or like what's going on up there? And then after 22 minutes, he finally signaled out to them. He had passed out up there. He had completely passed out.
Yeah,
10 minutes up there.
So the thing with the safety measures for this, there's really only one safety measure while he's up there, and it's a cable, which will obviously prevent a fatal fall, but it's very minimal, and it's designed to only keep his body recovered up there if he loses consciousness. That's really all it's there for. It's not to reduce the stunt's difficulty. He's not like being pulled by a wire to make it easier. That wire is just there in case he passes out. So that's how much more impressive this stunt is when you find out that the wire is not helping him. The wire is just there to save him and catch him. And he's still doing everything himself, which is so incredible. You know, as a one-man crew, Tom is operating the camera while piloting, while performing the stunt, adjusting the plane's position, you know, making it more relative to the sun for more optimal lighting. Like, I'm going to put the sun here, so let me change the angle while I'm hanging from a plane, piloting and acting. No body doubles. He's in charge of producing close-up shots, wide shots. He's also doing some sequences. He did several takes with a snorri cam attached to him to get different angles. I think it's just so impressive. And then, there's no radio contact up there. It's all hand signals. So you have to do everything through hand signals to communicate what's going on. It's just wildly impressive. It's a 12-minute stunt. It's impressive as hell.
Yeah, and that's a good point about the wire that saves him. It's not like for every shot they strap him to that part of the plane that he's climbing on. He really is climbing on every part of the plane himself. He's not rigged into these different setups. That's what's so impressive. And then also when he's in between the wings and it dives, it's 0G in there. There's a couple of amazing moments of 0G that he's experiencing, and he's literally just floating in between the bottom and top wing of the biplane. And it's just like, I was like, I can't believe this guy's still alive. I can't believe it. And he said he has something crazier cooking.
Yeah,
See, he's got
can't
something
wait.
more insane going.
Let's get back to more story stuff. So while Ethan's doing the recovery of the Podkova device and gets saved by Grace in the frozen Bering Sea, the rest of the IMF team, they're with Dunlow, who's being held captive by Russians, who are also after coordinates for the location of the submarine because they are after the same kind of thing, and they have their own cruciform key. But Dunlow has the coordinates, and the way this is all working cross-cutting is Ethan with the submarine. The submarine has to be able to get the coordinates from them while being at periscope height depth of receiving, and they're able to get the coordinates. Dunlow memorized the coordinates because he understood that it was something important from all the data drives that he had, but he destroyed them, but he gives them the coordinates, and that's basically what's happening over there with them.
I thought there was a lot of charm in that sequence, and I really loved Grace saving Ethan. It's a beautiful shot, and Ethan convulses in the water, in the Arctic water, probably about like 100 feet or so from the surface, the frozen icy surface above. And I thought that was so beautiful how he just floats curled up and he collides with the surface of the ice at the top of the ocean.
You know what it reminded me of? That shot reminded me of Sandra Bullock in Gravity, sort of a fetus in a womb in a way.
Yeah.
About to be reborn.
Oh, totally.
About to be birthed.
It reminded me of Edge of Tomorrow. And I loved the fact that Grace saved him, cutting into the ice. I thought it was a really stunning sequence, in this next scene, I got Fifth Element vibes.
Yeah, in the decompression chamber.
They're both in the decompression chamber, and they're having like a very intimate moment. It's very sweet, and you're just like, I'm dying for them to kiss. It wasn't as bad as Twisters, but it's like, okay, I can live with them not kissing. It is what it is. It's Mission Impossible. Never kiss.
Well, they do technically kiss in the dream sequence of her giving him oxygen.
Yes, yeah.
Technically a kiss.
And then, but then it cuts to, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. She's outside of the chamber, like smiling and waving at them. It was just like at the end of the Fifth Element where Bruce and Mia are being intimate, and then they see there's a bunch of people watching. I thought it was so funny. It was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then the rest of the film is them getting to South Africa because there's a bunker where the entity's going to hide in. It's an abandoned bunker that could survive basically anything. A nuclear war would be fine down there. But also Gabriel's going down there too because he knows Ethan will be bringing the Podkova with him, and Gabriel has the poison pill. And Gabriel's basically going to use Ethan to get the Podkova. He's like, you're going to bring it right to me. And the finale's all in South Africa. But I want to go to the connection to Mission Impossible 3 here because it all connects really well with the rabbit's foot. And so the rabbit's foot, which is technically a MacGuffin in Mission Impossible 3, it's always been a mystery of what it was. And in that movie, he is blackmailed into saving, what's her name? I can't remember his... Bridget Moynihan's name.
Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, I can't remember her name in the films. To save her, he has to steal the rabbit's foot. We never know what it is, but we just find out eventually that it's an anti-god. And because Ethan stole it, he helped the entity be created. And it's really interesting because I think this movie has a lot to say about filmmaking today. And I think McQuarrie and Tom are making a point about IP franchise filmmaking and how it's become sort of a factory system now. And how Tom, Ethan Hunt is a reason why the entity was created. Tom, in a lot of ways, is a reason why the IP franchise has just boomed so much in this millennium. It's not like it never existed before, but he produced Mission Impossible, and it became the biggest action franchise in the world. And then obviously Marvel had a huge hand in that as well. But, Tom has played a role in massive, massive IP milking from studios. Pros and cons to that. But it has definitely changed Hollywood. So did Tom help create that? Are they making a critique of that as well in terms of the rest of Hollywood? Because Tom and McQuarrie are still pushing the envelope creatively and with stunt work. But it's become, just like Ethan has become to the entity predictable, has Hollywood become predictable, and has Hollywood sort of made themselves obsolete, just like Ethan has made humanity obsolete to the entity?
Wow, that was deep. I did not get that deep. That's pretty good. You're not wrong. I think that I see so much hate for the rabbit's foot online. I honestly liked it. I was like, oh my God, that's such a clever way to connect us to the third film, because we never learned what that was. And I was like, I thought that was a really, really good way. If you want to connect these films, that's fun. I like that. And it leads into the theme of you're the sum of all your choices. This is the sum of all your choices. So all the choices that Ethan has made have led to this. All those choices. And stealing the rabbit's foot being one of those choices has led to the creation of the entity. I liked it. I like to have fun at the movies. I don't know about all these other people. I like to enjoy myself. And
I like to eat popcorn and have a fun time at the movies for an action blockbuster, yes.
Yeah, man. It's a fucking Mission Impossible movie. They're always so outlandish with their plots and narrative devices. And
it's called Mission Impossible.
I don't go to these movies to see a heartwarming the mirror to humanity. I just go to these movies to see gigantic spectacle and have some fun and watch Tom Cruise do his thing. And that's all I need. And that's what I got.
I absolutely agree with you, man. Now, we have another great... Mission Impossible is so good at having two crossing events happening at the same time that are both dependent on the mission to succeed. Happens multiple times in this film, but it's sort of the bread and butter for these great spectacles and action sequences. So while Ethan's doing the biplane stunts, there are two other subplots going on that are all integral to everything working out. So similar to Fallout,
he pulled a Nolan.
Yeah, so similar to Fallout, where the finale, he has to hit the trigger at the very right time while Luther and the others are defusing the bombs. In this film, we have a bomb diffusion as well as Benji doing the operation explanation to Paris while Grace, he's explaining to fix up or do the hard drive sequence to trap the entity. And then we have Dunlow and the others trying to defuse the bomb in the other room while Ethan's on the biplane, who has to put the poison pill inside the entity at the right time while there's a ticking clock for Grace to have to pull the hard drive at the right time. It's just like four crazy things have to all happen at the exact same time or else the world ends. So I think they did a great job here.
I love the fact that Grace, the character of Grace, is a great pickpocket. And they played around with so much of that in the first film, in the Dead Reckoning film. A lot of great beats of her swiftness and being a great pickpocket and sleight of hand. So I thought it was so great to be like, you know what, we can use her skill in this moment, her sleight of hand, her speed, to really be the final push at the end of this device. And man, when it all happened, pulled the trigger, he put the poison pill in, cut the wire, the little cube, the little block lit up, and she grabbed it. I was like, oh my God, it was great.
But also, I think what's also happening with another subplot happening at the same time is everything that's happening with President Sloan and her cabinets. Sloan let Ethan go away, but Sloan is being faced with the most difficult decision humans probably ever been faced with, let alone a president, where China has lost control of their warheads and their nukes. Russia's lost control of their nukes. England's lost control of their nukes. India's lost control of their nukes. The only country left with control of their nukes is America. And her cabinet, the majority of them, especially the generals, they're insisting that her next point of action for the United States has to attack every other country and destroy their cities that have the access controls and stations that operate their nuclear facilities. So they literally have to, they're telling Sloane, you have to bomb London, you have to bomb all these other capitals. And we're talking at a loss of 100 million lives easily. And not to mention, she also has to sacrifice an American city, one that has heavy casualties, to show the rest of the world it wasn't an act of war, it was an act of saving humanity. And we are going to sacrifice one of our cities. So she has to take out cities from all major countries that have nuclear warheads and nuclear arsenals. The hardest decision everyone's ever been faced with. A couple of them are pressuring her to do it. A couple of them aren't. And they do a great job showing, or Angela's great acting to show the weight of what this decision is going to be and how it's destroying her and consuming her. And she has days until this has to happen, but eventually comes to the point where unless Ethan can save the world with his team in the IMF, this is what Erica Sloane has to do, either nuke the rest of the world or just let everything occur. Both are terrible options. And I think they did a great job setting up Nick Offerman, the general, of being skeptical of his future actions, where he asks one of his soldiers to give him his firearm, which he does, because he says things are like someone's about to act wrong or something is about to happen. I want to be in a control of power, obviously. And I assumed, and I think they did a good job assuming that he was going to use it against Erica, the president, if she didn't make the right decision that he wanted. But he does it to save her life because one of the Secret Service officers tries to shoot her when she's not going to push the button. She's not going to detonate nukes. She's not going to bomb the rest of the world, including an American city. And General Sidney, played by Offerman, saves her life and dies in her arms, basically. And I think it was just commendable of the presidents to not push that button because at the end of the day, it's that impossible question. Sacrifice one person to save 10. Sacrifice 200 million to save a 6-7 billion. Can someone do that? Should someone have that power? It's an impossible question, and I respect that character for not doing it.
I totally agree. I thought they were setting him up to be the one to take her out, when in reality he was prepared all along to protect her. It was a great little diversion and totally got me. Hey, can we talk about how big that fucking set was?
Yeah,
that set was awesome.
Yeah, and also the entity gets control of their nukes, so it's up to Ethan and his team.
Yeah.
But yes, the set was massive, like this massive war room. We were talking about it after we left the theater. I couldn't believe how big that set was. It was legitimately just a massive soundstage they turned into a war room.
Yeah, and obviously they do extend it a little bit with CGI, but man, this movie, there's so many incredible sets and gigantic environments that they put together for this film, and it looks so good. There's a really great scene I forgot to talk about that was so funny, and it was breaking Paris out of imprisonment, and it was so fun because you got to get a mask scene in somehow, and it was like you're always waiting for the mask scene, and she's being chauffeured by a bunch of guards. And then a couple of them start fighting the other guards. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And even she was like, what the hell's going on? She's about to kill one, but it's fucking Ethan Hunt when he takes his mask off, him and Benji. I thought it was such a fun mask scene. It's one of my favorites of all time because I didn't see it coming. It was great amount. It was so much confusion and fighting happening where I was like, what's going on? And then to reveal the masks, taking the masks off. I thought it was such a great mask reveal.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You gotta have a mask scene. But I like how it was a quick one. Just boom. Just quick, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, nothing too complicated. And yeah, I think that was a good bit.
Can I ask you, let me ask you a question. What did you think about the montage in the opening of the film?
Oh, I fucking loved it. It was awesome. It got me fired up.
I loved it too.
It got me in the mood. It got me super excited about what we were about to see. And it was great. Obviously, when you're watching, you don't really know the context yet, but it's really just a compilation of all of the major stunts that Tom Cruise has done in Mission Impossible movies. But what they're doing here is setting you up to realize we're going to connect all of these together. All of these movies are going to get connected.
I liked it, man.
It was an appreciation.
I've seen.
It's basically like a way to show appreciation of Tom and what he's done for cinema, and also just done for this franchise, but also an appreciation for the audience and fans to, like, we're not going to spoon feed you everything, but here's a quick recap of all the crazy stuff that Tom Cruise has done in this movie.
I completely agree. I love the montage. I see people hating on it online. I'm just like, everyone needs to chill. I thought it was really great. I loved seeing it. I was like nodding the whole time. I was like, that's fucking right.
And I love the ending too. I thought Benji was dead, but he survives. Ethan, I was kind of like 50-50 on whether they'd kill him. I figured they wouldn't, and he does survive even though he parachutes while he's unconscious, right? Or what happens? He's just falling from the plane. His parachute catches on fire.
Open, yeah.
He catches on fire, and then they cut away from him. He survives, and then they're all at in London at the Trafalgar Square, and it's great. I love the way Macquarie shoots and edits with his team, and I like how he's a lot of sequences. He doesn't really always do establishing shots. He just kind of cuts to like close-ups. It's kind of all you need, and it really sets the tone of really being intimate moments between characters, even though it's such a huge populated place.
It was a fun little send-off and farewell. I thought it worked really well, and it was just like a little icing on the cake. A fitting way to end the film, I think.
Man, what a picture. What a film.
Great job, guys.
I'm fine if they never make another Mission Impossible movie again. I'd love to see one, of course. But I think that this was a movie for them where obviously they were planning more, I think. But I think the reception of Dead Reckoning Part 1 stopped that, especially the delays in production has slowed down Tom's filmmaking career in terms of, I think he wanted to at least have this movie done released a year ago, so that he could...
3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Okay, 3 years ago. So yeah, that was their plan.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, they pivoted, and Tom's like, all right, I really want to get these other movies made, which I should have had one of them out probably by now. So let's end this movie on a note where the franchise isn't over, but it could be over, and it's fine. It's a good ending. It's a good two-way ending where it could end here and we never get another Mission Impossible movie again, but they leave it open-ended where it could happen again, another one.
I totally agree. I'm up for either one.
I think if they do another one, make it a one-off. Don't connect it with the past at all.
I think they would too. Yeah, I think that they would do a one-off. That's the way to go.
Whew, man, what a fun movie to talk about.
I had a really great time. I loved it. I had a great time.
All right, how about we wrap up that episode right there, though?
Sounds great to me.
All right.
Hope you all saw it in theaters and IMAX if you could have. See it on the biggest screen possible.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm wearing my IMAX shirt today. Again, if you can take the time on Apple Reviews, Apple Podcasts, leave a review so we can bury that really mean, untruthful, hateful review that was left for us. That would be really appreciated by us. The lower we can get that, the better. But besides that, we really hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be doing some great ones coming up, but stay tuned for more. I'm back in the studio in Los Angeles. Anthony's still in London, but he'll be back in studio by the time it's July. But the show will continue. It'll go on. We still won't miss a posting or an episode, of course. Lots of cool stuff coming for you very soon. Stay tuned for more and take care.
See you next time.
This episode was brought to you by our chosen one patrons, Jacob Kossler and Nicholas Martin. Thanks so much, boys. Raiders of the Lost Podcast is a mirror image production. Sound mixing done by Jacob Kossler. Opening music by Chase Jackson.